not the physical realm that matter more than the spiritual realm. A man and woman on the same vibrations can make each other have orgasm without even touching each other if you know how to use your brain properly. But anyway, this energy travels from this cosmic uterus. It goes through space looking for the other uterus that it know it is complementary with, yet oppositional to, but complementary. When it meets here, it's complete now. It goes inside there, they do their thing, they make an egg, the egg hatch, here's the manifestation. That is a universal principle. That's the way it works. You can never make the universe be smaller than the things that the universe produces. You can't make a man be greater than the woman. It's real simple. You can't do that. That would cause problems. That's why our world is so messed up now, because when you send a male signal here that's supposed to go find a female's vagina to manifest in and create a manifestation, only thing it does is go find another male opposition. And if they not faggot homoing with each other, the only thing left is war. So now you got a world where you got men either fucking each other or killing each other. And what do I leave for the women to do? They turn to each other and talk about how no good men are. Because they're right, but it ain't all the men. It's just that the world is led by their selfish, self-centered, self-loving, fuck everybody else, you know, egotistical, melanin depleted as white men who will like for this circle right here to be small like this, and then this be the big ass dick. They can't even do anything unless they go find another big ass dick. Homo shit. Or either it's gonna be a big ass dick that come to a little bitty hole the way they would like it, so they can feel macho, that they I bust the pussy all out. And that ain't how you supposed to be thinking about making love to a woman. And she shouldn't be wanting no man to come and make love to her with that type of thought in his mind. But our world is so screwed up. That's what you hear people, I fuck the shit out of her. All that stupid stuff. And that ain't what you're supposed to do with a woman. You're supposed to treat a woman when you get her as if she is the most prized possession that you ever put your hands on. And you know yourself, you're not going to walk up to your BMW being all rude and violent to it like you think you're supposed to be when you get inside a woman. All right? Because you don't have to do that unless, I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that, but that is not supposed to be the common format thought about this embrace of such a beautiful thing that can happen between a man and a woman, where the egos of men now is where the only thing they want to do is, I'm going to fuck the shit out of her. That way you didn't do a good job, because you wasn't supposed to fuck her until she shit, or be even thinking about shit being in the equation. There's something wrong with your mind anyway when you thinking about feces having something to do with you making love to your woman. Something very wrong with that. I hate to be the one to point that out to you. And I probably overextended my demonstration about that, but I think it's needed to be said that our minds have been really warped on this true principle of how life permeates in this universe, and that needs to be eradicated, so some consciousness about what we're doing when we're out here making love and reproducing could be put back into the equation. And then everybody won't have to look at children as if they're just something that popped up because somebody fucked. No, you'll be understanding that children are not supposed to just pop up. They are supposed to be planned and provided for, and not allowed to have some bastard arrest them and put them in a prison and demand money from you before you can get your child back.
Two of them. There's a sacred place that's very small, and then inside of that is even a smaller one. And this is talked about in the Upanishads 6,000 years ago in India. And when the spirit can move back into the heart instead of the brain, it then goes backwards energetically toward the brain, and it does it through the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth.
See, that's what I was saying about the man being sad of the woman and leaves the woman to go back to the woman. See, that's just what he's saying. The same thing. They just wording it different because they don't want to use the demonstration of this being feminine. Because remember, we're talking about people who want to denounce the woman altogether. But see, this is what happened to the world, and this is what's going to have to be eradicated in order to get back on the right track. Now, it's real easy to see that this energy source is coming out of a cavity okay, and going right back into a cavity. It's real easy to see that, regardless to what anyone says. And then it even looked like there's some feet sitting there. Let's go at this and see what this is.
Now, why would that have any...
See, now look what they did. Instead of having the woman there like it should have been, because she is truly that which encompasses all, well, look what they do. They put the male there. And they even put a male phallus here to see behind that female. You see what they did? See, even behind this female, the hole, they put this there and made it look like a scrotum or a sheath. But what you're going to have to do is say, even when you do have a scrotum or a sheath, the cavity that's inside of there is always going to be female because it's a cavity. So you can't get around the female any way you try. But look, this is how chauvinistic they are. They put that man in there, didn't they? And then we talking about passing spiritual energy or projectiles or whatever through space. And what is space other than a cavity? And then they're going to put his ass there. This is why our world is so screwed up. Because these white men want to denounce the woman and put themselves in her place. And that means murder, 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 because that makes you an imposter. And the black people were divine. We were divine when we ran our civilization. And we was like, no. Just like the ants and the bees know, the most important thing is the queen. But look, they got his little bitch ass there. And this is why our world is messed up. Because it's all based on homosexual, male, chauvinistic principles. And that stuff doesn't fly. That's why everything is dying. Because he is not the source of regenerative power. The God of Sar knows that the true source of his regeneration is the females that he keeps around him all the time. See? We all know that. And the God Quetzalcoatl, he just showed you that too. We all know that. It's just these white men who are so messed up in their head because they know they have no melanin or no vagina, but they want to be God when they know the true God is the goddess, and the God is found inside of the goddess, just like I just told you, the male inside of the female. So these guys need to be eradicated because they are imposters, thieves, and devils, warmongers, criminals who have one purpose, that is to kill, to steal, and to destroy.
Thing to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, you remember when we said that when there was the human heart and the body came out of the heart?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the first thing is?
The tongue?
The tip of the tongue.
Really?
It's the first thing that emerges out of the body that emerges out. And so you can intuitively see that the sacred space of the heart is connected somehow to the tip of the tongue. And on the roof of the mouth is something that we don't know, but there's literally a sexual organ in there that looks like a vagina with a clitoris. And it doesn't function until it's massaged in a certain way. And when it does, a little bump forms, and the sexual energy flows between the heart and the brain, and it goes to the thalamus. And the thalamus, when you do that, it begins to fire alpha in the 4 quadrants of the brain. And when you do this long enough, and the alpha is equal or relatively equal in the 4 quadrants of the brain, and strong enough, then the pineal gland, which is the third eye, it's literally an eyeball.
Right.
It is hollow, it has color receptors in it, there's a lens on it, and it's facing up instead of out at 90 degrees to what we are now.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you like this. What he just said about having an organ in your mouth and all that, I don't know about, okay? And I'm not saying that can't be true. It gives me some research to do. But I tell you like this. I know the hypostyle gland, the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland is those reproductive sexual glands that makes reproductive chemicals and send them through your body and into the universe from thought. I know that happens from those organs inside of your brain. I never read about one being inside of your mouth. And I do know that your tongue is connected to your heart, but that doesn't mean that you can't control it. There's a whole lot of things you feel like saying around your heart that does not get said. All right, but this is what I also know. How your heart feels must get energy from the brain before any other your body responds to it. Which means that if it's somebody standing in front of me with a 45 robbing me and I want to kick him in his face or do something, whatever, I'm going to be wise enough not to open my big mouth and say that to that person. So though your tongue is connected to your heart, your heart is powerful enough to be able to control what your tongue says at all times. We all know that. It's just that sometimes you just say what you want to say because it be overbearing. And that's not probably the wisest thing to do. But I know I do that myself, so I'm not going to try to act like I'm above that. I know that's one of the areas I need work with. But at the same time, that could be one of my strong points too, as well.
And in the ancient writings, they talk about how you have to bend that. Well, it's with intention. You turn that eye and look out what we call the third eye. But what you're looking at is the pituitary gland, which is right in front of there. And when the alpha is fired up high enough, then when you what appears is a green light appears all inside of you. It could be a greenish yellow or it could be a greenish blue, but it's green in nature. And you begin to look at that direction. And your eyes have to slightly go up because it's a higher place than where your normal eyes are. And when you look at that other one, then what happens is a spiral usually occurs, and it locks those two together. And then there's another one behind it. And when you connect with that one, then around your head, there are these 8 beams of light that are formed, and a sphere appears around your head. And at that moment, whatever you're dreaming in your heart becomes reality in the outer world. And I mean flat out real. And it doesn't, and there are people that are actually studying this. Dr. James Hart, one of the greatest brain researchers on the planet, has looked into all of this and has been able to see that these things are actually occurring. They can scientifically test them as they're happening. They're testing the creation process. You can create with your brain or you can create with your heart, but there's a big, big difference. And so most people in the world are creating with their brain. You remember that DVD that came out called The Secret?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, and they made $100 million on that. And they're telling everybody, laws of attraction, you do this, and you can have all the money you want, and everything else is how they talk about it. But when you create with your brain, the brain is a polarized instrument. It's the left and the right side, male and female. And whatever you create, you're going to get the equal and opposite creation coming from behind you where you don't see. So if you whatever you create, you're going to get exactly what you don't want. And it works the other way around too. If you create something evil, dark, you're going to create something light also. And then you look at all the people that were involved in that. What's happened? They're all in court suing each other, and all the money's tied up in court, and it will be for years and years and years, because that's what's coming back from behind them. But if you create from your heart, it has a single eye, not two.
Is that creating what the old saying was, though? What goes around comes around?
Well, that's karma.
Yeah.
That's karma. That's a little different. Whatever you do, you're going to find the same thing coming back at you. It is related in that you're still creating whatever you do, every word you say, every thought you have, every feeling, you're creating in one way or another. But if you create from the heart, you get only, the heart will never create anything that harms anybody, anywhere.
I haven't asked you.
I want to share what I understand about the way that works is that since we created by our living entity, Goddess energy, since we come from that source, we can't be anything but that source. It's like if you had a big cake and you cut a piece of it off and you wrapped it up and you sent it to your friend's house across town. Though it was severed from the cake, it's still every bit of all of that which encompasses the big cake, which means it's a cake. No different than the big cake that it was cut from. So that works the same way with us as being cut from our God source. We're still gods and goddesses. Which means, as you thinketh, you can make manifest, because that's the way our parent